innovation is surrounding us around or across the globe. Recycling is finally being perceived as the best way to preserve the environment, or better yet, to preserve the world we live in. A new era has been ushered in this country following the June 30th revolution of 2013. New solutions to ancient problems have been adopted, of them addressing the energy crisis. People in this country suffered from repetitive and continuous disruptions of power. Industries were negatively affected, and the livelihood of millions was at stake. An energy mix was introduced, and recycling was adopted in order to complement the reform of the sector. Plants producing electricity with zero carbon emissions have been inaugurated, waste management platforms introduced, and the new Waste Management Act ratified, setting rules, setting roles and responsibilities, as well as encouraging the private sector to enter the market. This has led Egypt to transform from a state of shortage of energy to a current surplus position, being exported to the region and even adjacent continents. Good evening. You're watching the Business Insider here on Nile TV International. I'm Ayman Salah. This is a special edition on the occasion of the June 30th revolution, the 8th anniversary of the June 30th revolution. As you all know, our weekends affecting economies and business, and we aim to bring you the inside story.
مصر فيها 100 مليون. مصر كمان مساحتها 1,000,000 كيلومتر مربع. بس في حجم ضخم جدا من الأراضي احنا مش عايشين عليه. ما خدناش بالنا على مدى 60-70 سنة فاتوا ان الكلام ده هيبقى ليه تأثير كبير جدا وخطير على حياتنا ومستقبلنا. لكن احنا مش سايبين لا القاهرة ولا اسكندرية ولا بورسعيد ولا المحافظات، بنتحرك في كل القديم والجديد مع بعض عشان يليق بينا ويليق بالمصريين. يعني الموضوع مش مباني بس، لا، ده تطور كبير قوي احنا بنعمله. فأرجو ان احنا نستعد مفكرين مثقفين فنانين. هذا الحدث الكبير ميلاد دولة جديدة بافتتاح العاصمة الجديدة. ميلاد دولة جديدة. إعلان جمهورية تانية.
Certainly is. All right, so we start with our news items. The first news item is that Egypt received $1.4 billion of foreign direct investment during the third quarter. That's up 47% from just $970 million in the same period last year. Net inflows of portfolio investments rose to $5.8 billion during the quarter. This compares to the same period last year, which saw $8.2 billion of net portfolio outflows. Third quarter 2019 to 2020 coincided with the beginning of the global market crash and the emerging market sell-off that occurred in March through May in response to the pandemic. On another front, foreign inflows into Egyptian treasury bills continued to gain steam last month, rising to $22.3 billion as of the end of May from $20.9 billion in April, according to central bank figures. Investors put some $3.3 billion into short-term local debt between January and May on the back of a strong rebound in emerging markets. Derivatives trading is coming to Egypt before the year is out. That's according to Enterprise. The Financial Regulatory Authority, or known as the FRA, is looking to launch Egypt's first futures exchange before 2022. The long-awaited Commodities Futures Exchange will initially allow traders to buy and sell index futures contracts, before launching stock futures and stock and index options at a later date. State-owned banks and the Egyptian Stock Exchange will be allowed to own stakes in the clearing company, while it is still not known whether private sector firms will be allowed to bid. Each bank will be allowed to hold a maximum 10% stake in the company. The FRA has allocated at least 75% of the exchange to financial institutions that meet solvency standards and/or with experience in futures contracts. This step is the first for Egypt since the opening of the futures exchange will mark the first time ever that investors will be able to buy and sell derivatives on the Egyptian stock market. After the break, we'll be joined by Dr. Mostafa Khalil. He'll be talking to us about the green energy post the June 30th revolution. Stay with the Business Insider. Welcome back. You're watching the Business Insider. This is the 8th anniversary of the June 30th revolution, the June 30th revolution of 2013, a day to remember for all of us here. All right, so green energy post the June 30th revolution is our topic tonight. Our guest is Dr. Mostafa Khalil. He is a member of the Egyptian Russian Business Council, an investor in green energy, and also the chairman of the tourism committee in the Egyptian Russian Business Council. A pleasure to have you with us on the show, Dr. Khalil.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Let's watch this report and then we start our discussion.
Okay.
We'll be back.
Conserving resources, saving energy, recycling and protecting the environment all lead to saving our planet. In 2018, the formal sector in Egypt was believed to collect 810,000 tons of waste annually, with the informal sector collecting over 2.5 million tons. In 2019, the country used to recycle waste at a 20% capacity of all collected. However, it aims to reach 80% after launching a number of initiatives to stimulate the process. The private sector is being encouraged to chip in by contracting to carry out the waste processing and recycling. The government provides waste management companies with waste at no charge and leases them to the land to build recycling facilities whose byproducts they would then be able to sell. Egypt's new Waste Management Act was ratified in October of 2020 and sets an ambitious framework for waste collection, disposal and recycling. To resolve structural problem strategy and is being perceived as a step in the right direction by private sector waste management companies. The law sets the rules, roles and responsibilities and has encouraged the private sector to enter the market. It sets a national structure to manage waste collection and disposal for the first time and expands the role of the Waste Management Regulatory Authority to set regulations, collect fees, advise stakeholders, and be authorized to inspect facilities and take corrective measures when needed. Possible incentives for the private sector to enter the market envisages expanding the Investment Act to include tax and custom breaks for waste management companies, along with concessional lending schemes for SMEs because their main problem is funding. Tax and customs would be bigger incentives for companies planning larger investments. This complements the energy mix strategy that is being encouraged. In June 2021, the first of its kind waste-to-energy plant in Egypt using gasification technology was inaugurated in El Fayoum Governorate. The project aims to convert solid and agricultural waste into biofertilizers and fuel. The plant has a capacity to process 2.5 tons per day with an output capacity of 100 kilowatts per hour. This is being seen as a step in the right direction when it comes to regulating, organizing and attracting investments in the market, especially since Egypt is the fourth largest consumer of energy in the MENA region.
Welcome back. You're watching the Business Insider. My guest tonight is Dr. Mostafa Khalil. He is the chairman of the tourism committee in the Egyptian Russian Federation or Business Council. A pleasure to have you on the show here tonight. Why are we introducing you as tourism when it's not related to tourism? Actually, it is somewhat related to tourism, but you're also an investor in the green energy business, and it's important to know the feedback of the private sector in regards the energy mix, in regards investing in energy and the role of the private sector. Let's talk about this sector in the past 10 years. How has it evolved?
When we have a global insight or sight how to look at this sector, actually in the last 10 years, actually it's more longer than this 10 years. All Egyptians are suffering too much from the waste because all the waste already in the bin, in the street, everywhere, surrounding the Egyptians and surrounding even the tourists, wherever they are going, they are looking at a kind or another of the waste. So the idea is that we already looked at this issue deeply when we noticed that the entire world is changing towards clean and green societies. And still Egypt is suffering from this issue.
Excess waste all around.
Waste all around and in different kinds and everywhere, and pollution and all the types which people suffering from. We used our connections from tourism because we are dealing with several countries in the entire world just to connect to what's happening there, especially when we were checking the reports in our conferences and so on, that the destinations, the green destinations of tourism, starting from 2025, will be the only reward to any tourist, and any traveler will choose a destination according to how they preserve the environment. In addition to that, from 2013 and so on, we started to check that is the release of the subsidizing of the energy. This is also will impact economically on the
removal of subsidies.
Exactly, removal of that. So no subsidies will be, and according to this, it will impact on the cost of each enterprise. From this point, we started to move across all Egypt, and we made our research and check what is the main problem, what is the core of the problem. We discovered that the core of the problem comes from the transportation, the collection, the economical.
Here you're talking about the waste. You're talking about the transportation of waste to a certain location in order to process it and get energy out of it. That's the process you're talking about.
Yeah, but even you are transporting the waste from the source to the landfill. Even in the landfill, you are not using it. You are not converting it into energy, but still smokes due to the organic waste which are there. This makes this kind of smokes, and it creates kind of pollution because of smelling and all these things. And according to that factors, usually the government was choosing the landfill is very far from the city. Just to transfer the waste from the source of it in the cities to, or the villages, to the landfill, this is very high cost. In addition to that, the frequency of transportation is not on that level. Accordingly, this is the another weak point. It leads to there is very lack or insufficient way of moving, of eliminating the waste from the cities of or the villages into the specified or designated location for that place. From this point, the World House already looked at this issue. They already found the technology which you can getting the waste or gathering the waste and converting it into energy inside the cities without any emissions, zero emissions. From this point, we noticed that to solve the problem of Egyptian waste management problem, to solve it, we need to make a decentralized system. And this is, we shared a lot of experts in that from Europe and different points in the world. When you look at the government plan, you will see that they would like to eliminate the waste. It's not only just move it to the landfill and move from landfill to another landfill and so on. And that affect harmfully to the soil and affect harmfully to the water and the air and all these things which make a kind of pollution. And it leads to health hazards. Accordingly, we noticed that in 2019 already there was a very nice decision from the Prime Minister gathering the three main ministries in one decision. Ministry of Municipality, Ministry of Electricity, and of course Ministry of Environment. That's according to this triangle, they can give the license to the right technology. In addition that the Ministry of Municipality is the head of this triangle, and Ministry of Energy is the buyer of the product. There is two kinds of products which convert the waste into energy or lead this kind of convert this problem into economical benefits to anyone who's going to work on that. Usually in that time there was a kind of conflict between the collector of the waste, because they are taking only the metals and the glass and the plastic and so on to recycle them, and this is, they have economical benefits to them, and they are working with that. And they are leaving what's called organic waste. This organic waste, of course, it gives a kind of bad smelling, it gives a kind of smokes, and it gives all kinds of pollution. So we're trying to just to absorb all kind of those people who are already have this as a profession. So we already would like to collect them in the mechanism of waste collection.
You need them, either
yes.
They are formal or informal.
Or informal. This is just to put them in the system. And when you put this in the system, you will create what's called win-win situation.
Right.
That they already collecting, and they will be sharing the investors in the system itself, just to be part of the mechanism. From this point, that those people can collect the waste and already giving to the plant, and this plant already the result of it, which is leads to gas, and this gas could be either gas could be injected in the grid or to be converted into electricity, and you are left with biochar, which is very nice fertilizers and soil recovery makes like that, and it saves the water because it preserves the water as much, mainly it's carbon.
It's organic.
And it reserves the water, so it saves water about 2/3 of the water which is supposed to be used already saved, because you are using biochar to the soil itself. In addition, this will lead the product itself, the agricultural product, it's based on organic. And then it will lead, that is, you will save CO2, because each kilogram of biochar making CO2 credit 3.66 kilogram. So that is already gives Egypt as a country a kind of very advanced position of environmental protection.
And it already has a good position in terms of carbon emissions.
Yes.
Because it has not used its capacity.
Exactly. In addition to this, you are sharing the world to avoid warming. Because when you are you are converting the waste, municipality waste, into biochar and into gas, and that's. In addition to that, what we are talking about, this is the decision of making the tariff itself, feed-in tariff for the waste management. It's very, very satisfactory for any investor because the return of the investment in that case will be around 3.5 year to return your investment.
3.5.
3.5. What is the advantage here also? Just you can create a kind of employment because if we put it like that, if you look at the villages itself, we have around figure for all the villages in Egypt about 10,000 people or some people, number of small villages, they can reach to this number. This number is like creating kind of waste like 10 ton per day. When you are creating 10 ton per day, you are speaking about 300 kilo or 400 kilogram per hour, which means 300 to 400 kilowatt hour. That's may lead to 2 million or 2.5 kilowatt hour year, plus the percentage of 2 ton biochar daily. So that is this kind of production. Economically, it's very, very sufficient to any youth, any group of people who are just graduated or just they would like to make a kind of
small enterprises, micro enterprises.
Yeah, exactly. And the banks are supporting. So if you look at the map or the pictures, you will find all linked to each other. So as we are saying about the renewable things, this is also the system already matching the idea. When you come with the project, with the technology which fits the Egyptian law and zero emission, then you will get the blessing or approval from the Ministry of Environment. Accordingly, you will get the permission or the license from the Ministry of Electricity. Then Ministry of Municipality will feed the waste and give you the land wherever. Accordingly, you're already working in a very easy way. Where is the financing? Majority of banks now, they are financing the small and medium enterprises with 3.5% fixed interest rate for any loan. And
on the Egyptian pound, which is basically nothing.
Nothing.
So does this attract foreign investors as well as local investors?
Definitely, because they are thinking, and even the Ministry of Environment encouraging people to do like this, because they are coming when they are providing their technology, and the foreign investors, they are coming to build and operate and then transfer. This is within 15 years. They will provide the system totally.
Build, operate, transfer within 15 years, but the return on their investment is after 3.5 years.
Yeah, no, it's very
with an interest rate of 3.5%, which is extremely lucrative.
Correct.
So, how much is this waste system, is this organic waste system contributing to the energy mix in Egypt? And how many years do we need in order for it to have a significant contribution?
Put it like that. If you look at the percent or the quantity of the waste, municipality waste only, it's 26 million ton per year. 26 million ton per year. It needs a calculator actually to calculate this.
Okay.
26 million ton per year. If you will divide them into 24 hours, then you can get immediately how many giga.
Divided by 24, that's 1.083. That's
Divide-
1,083,000.3.
Yeah, this calculation actually should be accurate. 26 million, we will divide by 12 months, by 30 days, let us say 800 hours. 26 million by 800 hours.
Divided by
800
hours.
This is the number.
32,000 and a half.
32,000 and a half ton per hour. It means 3 giga per hour. 3 giga per hour.
3,000 kilowatts.
This is 3 giga. It means you are contributing. Egypt was before in 2013 was producing only 25 giga. Now I think we reach to 35, 40 like that. So when you will participate with the waste, municipality waste only, you may share with 3 giga.
But it's not only a matter of sharing the amount of electricity, but the other effects also. No waste.
Just energy.
Just energy.
And in addition, this energy already distributed in every point in the Egyptian map. It's not just focusing
so
on one
solving it
station
all around.
like that. No, it's everywhere. And if we will take this, it will be under the umbrella of the government plan. So while the government would like to have from this just employment, you'll find. Just investing, you'll find that. Get rid of the waste, it's there. So this is the budget which the government is allocating to deal with the waste. Just the government will be as a regulator, not more than this. Just put the rules and check how the people are working.
Which falls in line with the strategy, with Egypt's Vision 2030.
Correct.
And with the 30th of June revolution strategic direction, if you will. Dr. Mostafa Khalil, member of the Egyptian-Russian Business Council, an investor in green energy, and the chairman of the Tourism Committee in the Egyptian-Russian Business Council. A pleasure having you on the show, and thanks for shedding light on this important strategy mix, if you will.
My great
Thank you very much for joining us. And on this occasion, we thank you for joining us on the 8th anniversary of the June 30th revolution. I'm Ayman Salah. Good night.